This is how many days away I am from going to Australia. I was made redundant a couple of weeks ago, and instead of doing a serious job hunt, I finally decided to take the plunge and get a working holiday visa for Australia. So I'm heading there, that lovely little country on my map in the background, in 75 days. What have I been doing to keep myself financially stable between now and that departure date? I've been using Uber Eats as a driver to keep the cash flowing in. The top level numbers, I'm earning £15.50 per hour over about 40 hours worked in total so far. Oh, so if you were doing this full time, you could earn a decent living. However, a couple of things to caveat and things I find frustrating about using Uber Eats. The times reported on the app are only counted when you're in an active delivery, so the time that you're waiting outside of that doesn't count. So of the 40 hours worked or reported worked on the app, I've done about 50, 55 on top. So let's say 80% of what that hourly rate is should come down. Then you have to minus two major costs. Insurance. I use an app called Zego. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's £1.60 per hour worked, and it kind of balances up and down based on if you want to do 47 minutes in a day, 52 minutes, it'll count as an entire hour. But if you do like a 6 hour spell, it'll count each individual bit over that spell, depending if you click the go offline and online button on the app. So it's nice that it auto syncs between Uber Eats and that. If I use that overall calculation with the insurance, it drops it down to, and then there's fuel costs. Fuel costs right now are ridiculous, and it isn't something that I can accurately calculate because when I'm doing these jobs, it's a little bit of a, I'm on the way to doing something. I'm going shopping, I'm going to the GP, I'm going to the bank, whatever it is. It's not just I'm purely doing Uber. I am doing purely Uber on some days, but that's not always the case. So I can't calculate the difference between what I should be paying and what that impacts on your hourly rate. So you need to bear that in mind. On that side, there's a couple of hints and tips that I think I've come up with in the 20 odd days that I've been doing Uber Eats that I think would help other people as well. First thing, load up Uber Eats on your phone on the website itself and find out all of the restaurants in your area that are on the app. You could have local convenience stores, local chippy, Indian. You obviously have the big names from McDonald's, KFC, Domino's, that kind of thing. They're all on the apps already. Even the co-ops on there, the local co-ops, and then work out which one's the closest to you and is likely to have repeat custom, depending on the time of day that you're setting out as well. So if you're heading out at, let's say, 5 o'clock in the morning, I'd go to a local, the McDonald's, or something that's open and actively serving, rather than heading to your chippy, which only opens up in the evening. So bear in mind what's local and where can be open, and then head there if you haven't got an active job. Work that out, see where they are, and you can do that when you're in that 20% downtime that I mentioned. So 40 hours worked, 50, 55 in the car doing nothing. Those 20% time, I could be heading towards somewhere that is looking for jobs. There is a feature on the app which has orange and red zones. So if a restaurant in your area is looking for more drivers, it's a incentive that the app has to try and get the driver to the place rather than ping the driver to come to the place when the job is ready. It's trying to preempt orders in that time period. It might not guarantee you a job if you go across to these orange zones, and I have caught myself out a number of times going to these orange zones, setting myself out 5-10 miles out of my way to go to these orange zones, and sit there for 10-15 minutes in the car and still get no job from that location. So don't use those orange zones as a sole, we need it. It's a algorithm thing that they've had historical orders in there in the past that it should have normal high frequency orders, and there's not enough drivers in that local vicinity. So that's what that's there for. So bear it in mind. Red ones, though, it's pretty much guaranteed that that area is underserved by the drivers in that area based on the history in the area. So if there's orange, make sure there's 2 or 3 in a cluster. if there's a red, just head to the red. You'll more than likely find a job on the route to that red. So it could minimize the amount of time you're waiting between ending a different delivery and the next one. I've waited up to 47 minutes for a delivery to come up on my app again. So I think you just got to be smart when you go from A to B. So that's what I found in where I live in. Anyways, it's a bit more rural. So that's what that one is. This one is not much of a hint, but more the opportunities and promotions. I think in my area, at the very least, it is very, very poor. You have a £1 per delivery in a 2-hour window between 6 and 8 p.m. in a very, very localized area. And the most I've ever gotten in that 2-hour window is 7, and that's because I had 3 double deliveries in that one. You're waiting typically per order 35 to 40 minutes each evening. So use the promotions to top up the average order value, but don't rely on them as this area's got a promotion, therefore there's going to be more deliveries. It's just, if there's a delivery in that area and there's a promotion, it's an added bonus. It's not anything I think you need to set out to do, because like I said, I was in my local town. I'm not going to name it, but I was in my local town from 6 to 6:45 and got no jobs. So I headed to the next town, and on the way to the next town, I got called back into the town to do the job. So it's like you have to actively head away from a restaurant to get the job. I don't know what they're trying to do there. They're trying to minimize if you're heading to a location, i.e. one of those orange zones. They're trying to minimize how much they're getting from you. So maybe detour off, or I don't know what the algorithm is around that, but it just seems a little bit weird. I think as soon as a job comes in, they should ping it out to the most local driver. That's as simple as it should be, but there seems to be a lot of gamification from the app to pay us effectively. So I do like delivering to people. I like going into the restaurants. I like seeing the staff have a good time, basically. There's a couple of restaurants that are a bit moody people, but they're busy. It is what it is on that one. But customers are always quite happy to see you. And one thing I'm very proud of, I was just trying to find my phone there. One thing I am very proud of, considering how many deliveries I have done, just loading it up as we speak. So I've got 100% with 159 deliveries. I think that's something I'm going to try and maintain as high as possible for as long as possible, because generally I have a good experience with the customers and the restaurants. It's just the app itself. I feel like there's a gamification that I don't quite understand, and I think they need to make it a little bit clearer as to what the orange zones actually mean, where you should frequent if you want to dedicate an area. I think that's a good idea for you personally, but also the last thing I want to caveat, and I have noticed in a lot of American versions of it, is working out the price per mile versus the delivery fee. And I think in the UK, or in my area at least, the price per mile should be anything above £1.20 per mile. So if you've got a 10-mile order and it gives you £10, I'd still accept it because it's £10, but you're looking really for £12 for that order. That's how I would judge it, because of how far you might have to travel. Inner city ones might be a little bit different, but I am in rural England, so it might be that as well. So yeah, bit of a weird Australia and Finos update, but yeah, I've worked out how much I need to earn per day, and worked out how much I need to keep my bills going, and using this is a very viable way. So if you are in this limbo between a job and going to Australia, get on the gig economy, and yeah, I'd recommend Uber Eats. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.